Visit lifelock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Hi, it's Preston James. I've been a stock and option trader for 32 years. I used to be a frustrated swing trader, but that all changed once I discovered my money press method. It's changing thousands of lives, and I'm confident it can change yours. But let the proof do the talking by going to accountproof.com. You'll see a 7-minute video revealing how my money press grew a $54,000 account to over $174,000 in less than 9 months. Go to accountproof.com to get started.
Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Invest wisely.
Business owners, have you ever considered cashing out and selling your company? If so, it could be worth a lot more than you think. If your business has annual revenues of $5 million to $250 million or more, you need to call the experts at Carnegie Point. We specialize in helping business owners like you navigate the process of selling your company smoothly, confidentially, and for the best possible price. Did you know that depending on your industry, you can potentially sell for 5 to over 10 times your annual net earnings? We know that selling your business can be a big decision. That's why we take the time to understand your goals and guide you through every step of the process. With over 20 years of experience and a proven track record, Carnegie Point offers the expertise you need. Call us now for your free company financial analysis and our expert opinion on what your business is worth. Call 800-945-6440. That's 800-945-6440. Or visit CarnegiePoint.com.
Search Kings knows it's not the number of customer calls you get. It's the number of calls that get you customers. That's why Search Kings now has Call Intelligence. With Call Intelligence, evaluating, summarizing, and scoring every incoming call, you'll know the most profitable leads, what generated them, and your true return on investment. In the history of Google advertising, there will be before Call Intelligence and after Call Intelligence. You want to stand out where your customers are online? Switch to Search Kings.
Those are two stats you don't want. The most money spent per pupil, and you're at the bottom of the list. And that's where we are, like it or not. We're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs.
The real issue is, how do we make sure that kids have the funding that they need? What are we saying to parents? What are we saying to the public?
We don't need to be spending more than $3 trillion over the course of a few decades on a department that's clearly failing.
Well, the president signing the executive order to begin dismantling the Department of Education. The Senate Minority Leader quickly putting a post out. This is a horrible decision by Donald Trump, and it will be felt by teachers, parents, school leaders, and the quality of education of our children receive. Across the country, property taxes will go up while the quality of many schools will go down. Presidents cannot make departments, and they cannot eliminate them either. Only Congress can do that. I asked Secretary McMahon about that.
I think he was correct in saying that we were going to do everything legally. That's what he has said to me from the very beginning. He would like for me to move as swiftly as we can because he believes the sooner that we can close the department, the more efficiently we can have the funds distributed to the states. I want Congress to be a partner in this, and I believe they will be, because both sides of the aisle know that what is happening to education in our country cannot be allowed to stand because we are failing our students.
So with that, let's bring in our panel. Democratic campaign consultant Kevin Walling, Kimberly Strassel, a member of the editorial board at the Wall Street Journal, and Roger Zakheim. He's the Washington director of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. Kimberly, your thoughts on this, the process and what is behind it? Obviously, President Trump, as a candidate, campaigned on this pretty vigorously.
Yeah, it's a great first start, but now comes the hard work, and that comes in a couple of different ways. One is this administration is going to have to double down now on explaining what this means. You saw the criticism from Chuck Schumer, property taxes will go up, Randy Weingarten, terrible for kids. They need to explain their goal here is not cutting money. It's instead about giving it to the schools, for instance, in block grants and ways that they can use to actually hire more teachers instead of hiring hiring a bunch of mid-level managers who exist to try to apply for grants from the Department of Education. And then the second bit is they're going to have to partner with Congress, because if you really want to see that come into fruition, it is going to need to be done with Congress's effort, in particular in changing, for instance, the way all that works to establish block grants, or also to deal with the other huge part of the Department of Education, which is $1.6 trillion in liabilities and student loans, which needs to be rationalized.
Yeah, Kevin, change is hard. Big change is harder. Explaining all of this in a way that people fully understand it, if you look at our latest Fox poll just out on this specific question of closing down the Department of Education, there's a lot of opposition. All voters at 65%. You can see Republicans favor it at 63%. But look at independents on the opposition at 81%. I think there are a lot of questions and uncertainty and how it all plays out factored into this polling question.
Yeah, exactly right, Brett. I agree with Kimberly. The burden is now on the Trump White House to explain their plans going forward, and Secretary McMahon to identify that. The fact that, 2/3 of Americans don't agree on much, but the fact that in this Fox polling they agree that the Department of Education should not be shuttered. Of course, as you point out too, Brett, 81% of independents and 1/3 of Republicans believe that. So certainly the burden is on this Trump White House to say, okay, over these next 4 years, we're going to dismantle this federal agency. Where's the money going? Obviously, a lot of it is relegated to special education, enforcing civil rights, Pell Grants. There's a lot more details out there that we need that are very light on this executive action so far.
Roger, President Reagan wanted to eliminate the Department of Education, scale it back. His education secretary, Bill Bennett, was on Fox and Friends this morning. Take a listen.
I would actually go one better, one tougher than the president. Instead of just sending it back to the states, send it back to the people. I mean, do you really want to give 15% of your grants to the state of California and say, do with this whatever you want? I don't think so. Why not send it directly to the people and let them, in the form of scholarships or grants or vouchers, whatever you want to call them, use it to take it to the school of their choice?
And you heard me ask the Secretary about that. I put up that poll about the opposition to break up the Department of Education, or questions about it. If you look at the Gallup poll out just recently about the quality of public education, dissatisfied at 73%, Roger.
Well, Secretary Bennett is getting at the key point is you could push it to the states and you'll end up having the same result. That's the problem, and so I think that's a challenge for the Secretary of Education. You mentioned President Reagan wanted to do this, and he talked as late as 1983 about abolishing the Department of Education. And the principle that was guiding his view is that he said education wasn't even just about going to the states. It should be managed by the home. And that's where I think Secretary Bennett was going as well. And what you get with that is a real division over how you solve this problem. You had governors in the room today, lots of governors in Washington applauding this decision. But there are a lot of people from the homeschooling community, the school choice community, and others that say, hey, this is not something we want states to handle. We want families to handle this. How the Secretary of Education manages that will actually determine the speed in which she carries out President Trump's executive order. So what you have here is a challenge both on policy as well as the process, which Kim emphasized earlier on, which is Congress, of course, because all these things are authorized in statute, is going to have to play a big part in figuring out what the next era looks like for the Department of Education.
Yeah, Kimberly, I want to talk about the process on this legal battle between these district judges who are making rulings, dealing with a whole bunch of different policy issues. During this show, President Trump put out a Truth Social post on nationwide injunctions saying unlawful nationwide injunctions by radical left judges could very well lead to the destruction of our country. These people are lunatics who do not care even a little bit about the repercussions from their very dangerous and incorrect decisions and rulings. If Justice Roberts and the United States Supreme Court do not fix this toxic and unprecedented situation immediately, our country is in very serious trouble. Obviously, this is brewing to be a major battle legally, and how the administration deals with some of these rulings from these district judges.
Yeah, you know, this has actually been a big problem for a long time, Brett. It's just that it's now finally coming to a head. Bill Barr gave a speech back in 2019 noting that in the entire 20th century, there were fewer than 30 national injunctions. You had 64 against Donald Trump in his first term alone, and that's going to look puny by comparison to what's being issued now. And justices like Clarence Thomas have been asking the court to address this and put out guidelines and clarify the limits of judicial power when it comes to these injunctions. For a long time, he's been joined by Gorsuch, more recently by Alito, in doing something, and the court has not moved. So now it's being asked to do so specifically. I don't see how it can avoid it anymore, but something needs to change.
Yeah, Kevin, you heard the president say to Laura Ingraham he's not going to disobey a legal order. However, he is challenging the fact that the power of a federal district judge is greater than the mandate of the executive branch that was elected by the people.
Yeah, Brett, I mean, we live in a system of law and justice and Article 3 and a check on both the legislature and the executive departments. And I am heartened by the president in that conversation with Laura Ingraham saying that he will abide by those rulings. Now, he can vent his frustrations on Truth Social all he wants, but we'll see how the process plays out.
Yeah, what he says in post is different than what he
Exactly,
does sometimes,
right.
And that's what you have to look at. Panel, thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
And finally tonight, a special day.
Yekaterina Nekrasova, 122 meters, a white card.
Look at this. A Russian free diver is believed to have set a new world record in under ice swimming. Forget it. A Russian media broadcast reports she swam about 400 feet in under 2 minutes under the icy surface of a lake near Russia's border with Mongolia. That is a cold plunge. She swam without a wetsuit, used only her legs to propel her forward. Congratulations, I guess. Tomorrow on Special Report, we continue our series about the 5-year anniversary of the COVID-19 pandemic. We look at the lasting impacts, the effects on education, mental health, and the U.S. economy. Remember, if you can't catch us live, set your DVR, 6 p.m. East, 3 p.m. on the West Coast. You can follow me on Instagram and X at Brett Baer for exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Thanks for watching. Thanks for inviting us into your home tonight. That's it for this special report. Fair, balanced, and still unafraid. The Ingraham Angle starts now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. The first ever television interview with one of Elon Musk's Doge deputies. He joins us alongside Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on how they're teaming up to try to trim the fat. Plus, Governor Ron DeSantis, Lara Trump, they'll stop by. They'll be here in moments. But first, left out and losing big. That's the focus of tonight's angle. In case you hadn't noticed, Democrats are a little unhappy. The faces and voices tell the tale.
We have people going to the Republican districts and going after these Republicans.
I'm so mad. I'm spitting mad.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
And their activist base apparently wants even more anger, and they want even more resistance. The facial anger is not enough. Well, sure, they're angry because their freebies and their boondoggles are coming to an end, but so far, the government cuts, considering the massive size of the overall federal budget, are fairly reasonable and actually pretty small. And let's not forget, Presidents Clinton and Biden, they sounded very dogy in the past, even President Obama.
Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions. And that includes cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. But what should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody.
It sounds like he could work for Doge. A Democrat worried about the deficit and interested in eliminating the federal fat? What happened to their party? Sounded so reasonable. But why are so many acting out then? Their behavior ranges from being just adolescent to criminal, even terrorizing. But what's really triggering them? Well, Politico unwittingly staggers to an answer today, and their playbook feature titled The War on Liberal America. Beyond the economic impact of the agenda, Trump agenda, which will be eventually very positive, is the cultural impact he's having. And this goes right to the beating heart of 40 years of liberalism. While liberals see cultural vandalism, some conservatives, Politico writes, see a long overdue correction. It's clear that many of Trump's changes are going to be permanent. No serious Democratic candidate for 2028 will come in pledging to reverse every cut. The world has changed, they write, before our eyes since January 20th. You bet it has. Trump back in the White House means sweeping reform and, in some cases, the annihilation of the left's sacred cows. From DEI to the U.S. Department of Education, lavish foreign aid, trans athletes and women's sports, even the performing arts at the Kennedy Center, where I'm now a new board member. Now, Trump knows that while business may be, while the business of America is business, in order to affect lasting change, you also need a dramatic cultural shift to occur. For a while now, we've seen some signs of a spiritual awakening, and it's usually happening on college campuses with the revivals. And that's wonderful, but we have to start so much earlier than that to really make a change. And Republicans, going back to Reagan, they promised to tackle the federal stranglehold on education. But it never happened until Trump.
We're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs, and this is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work. Absolutely, it's going to work.
Now, since the department was established, we've spent $3 trillion on education. And the results? Well, not good. Poor test performance, less proficiency in reading and math. We've done a huge disservice to our kids. Of course, Democrats prefer it that way. They prefer the status quo. Because sadly, most of them don't care if our kids aren't learning. As long as the propaganda machines, their propaganda machines, continue to hum, as long as their educrat supporters are well paid to develop programs that don't educate our kids. Of course, liberals can't really defend the Department of Education's report card. That's really difficult. But they can work themselves into a frenzy for a crowd.
We are here together because an extreme concentration of power and corruption is taking over this country like never before. I want you to look at every level of office around and support brawlers who fight, because those are the ones who can actually win against Republicans.
Yes, that's a 2028 contender, my friends, spouting typical squad nonsense. And speaking of nonsense,
our job is not to destroy public education. It is to significantly improve it.
Nobody wants this. Nobody in America wants the destruction of public education.
Taking a chainsaw to the Department of Education and undermining its mission to educate our next generation would be horrible for our schools, our families, the children.
Of course, that's all of it. Everything they said is preposterous.
It's not just the money, it's the control, how those dollars are spent. This isn't just a MAGA idea, guys. This is empowering parents, teachers, that better communication at the local level, driving curriculum at a localized level for the needs of that community.
Think about it. Why is that a threat to the left? Because they want states and school boards and parents and textbook publishers to have as little control over children's education as humanly possible. And it's not just that. They need the gravy train to keep their members fat and happy. Now, if you're like me, you get tired of your kids having to miss school because teachers take what's called a professional development day. Now, why do they take professional development days? Because the Department of Education sends $2 billion a year to the states to fund these sessions. Now, it beats having to teach kids who can't read how to read. But today is a milestone. For decades, the Department of Education belonged lock, stock, and barrel to the left. Well, that's over. With his executive order, President Trump delivered a major blow to the liberal monopoly on the culture. And the few smart Democrats left in the party will watch and learn as the crazies who make the headlines and get the clicks will just keep spitting into the headwinds. And that's the angle. Joining me now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor, you said earlier this week that dismantling the Department of Education would usher in a new era of American educational excellence. How so?
Well, think about what we've had to deal with in Florida. So 4 years ago, we led on the issue of women's sports, as we typically lead. So we said we're going to protect women's sports. The Biden administration, through their Department of Education, responded by threatening to take away school lunch money for poor kids. And so what this bureaucracy has done over the years, they try to get involved in fashioning education policies in ways that the Constitution never intended. So let us make the decisions on education. We're obviously going to approach it much different in Florida than California. We have universal school choice. We have paycheck protection for teacher union dues, and many of our unions are now being decertified because a lot of teachers don't want to write the check. We also don't have woke in our curriculum. We do civics. We do a lot of different things, and it's proven to be successful.
But you were able to do that with the Department of Education in existence, so aren't you making a point that contradicts the need to do much with it?
What they want to do is they want to attach different strings to money, and a lot of that money doesn't even go to the state. It goes directly to school districts, and so they will be working with school districts, sometimes liberal school districts, against state policy. So we're having to do all these fights for no reason. Take the money, and the president made the point today, you can do a fraction of the money, send it to us. The dollars will go farther because we're cutting out the bureaucracy.
Randy Weingarten, good friend of yours, teachers union chief, was poo-pooing this idea that the Department of Education controls the states. Watch.
It doesn't control any schools. In fact, it's the states that control schools. So if President Trump doesn't like what's happening in education, it's the states and local school boards that do it.
At least she got her hair done. What of that?
Well, I mean, you've been around, you understand. When you are sending money, you condition the money to certain behavior. Now, we fought against that in Florida, but we also have the wherewithal to do it because our economy's grown 30%
Booming.
Just since I've been governor. We've got a big surplus, but not every state is in that situation. And whatever they've done thus far, which has been intrusive, they will do more in the future. And so we know this just hasn't worked. Send the money to the states. Let us make the decisions.
Congress is going to ultimately have to take the step, yes, to really shut it down.
I think what President Trump can do is I think he can, from the inside, neuter the organization. But it will not be wiped off the statute books by an executive order. That has got to come from the Congress. First, let's give President Trump credit. We've been talking about for 40 years, Republicans.
Since I was at the Department of Education.
Getting rid of it, and it's never happened. This is the biggest step by far. But the congressmen all run saying you can't win a Republican primary in this country as a Republican saying you want to keep the Department of Education.
So it should be a no-brainer.
And so why aren't they voting to codify? But this is like so many other things President Trump's done. They're not codifying his immigration executive orders. They're not codifying these things. So while this is good policy in the instant, we want it to stand the test of time. Congress has to be the ones to do that.
Will they? Do you think?
If history is any judge, probably not. I mean, we're talking about the courts. You know, the court's as good as anyone.
Limit the jurisdiction.
Congress can limit the jurisdiction of the courts. That is plain in the Constitution. It doesn't require 67 votes in the Senate. You can attach it to a CR. You can attach it to a must-pass bill. And here's the thing. If somehow you tried to do that and maybe it just didn't work, then I think our voters would at least understand. They're not even trying any of this stuff.
It's infuriating.
We knew these leftist judges were going to do what they're doing. Everybody predicted that. President Trump knew that. This was one where the Congress is basically, and what are they? They're on 2 weeks of vacation now. Really? That must be nice.
Yeah.
I think they got a lot of work to do.
Most of them are in your state of Florida vacationing. Governor, hey, great to see you as always.
Thanks.
Congrats on everything you have done in education, especially education. I have so many friends in Florida. They thank you for their opportunities for their kids. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And coming up, an Angle exclusive inside DOGE. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is here, along with one of the architects of how to cut waste and fraud and abuse. He's never given an interview before about this, and that's next.
Hey, Hey everybody, I'm Andy Cohen. Hear me and my awesome lineup on Radio Andy. Andy Cohen Live.
Gail King in the house.
Jeff Lewis Live.
It's Me Tinks.
Smith
Sisters
The
Live.
John Hill
The
Show.
Julia Cunningham.
Here's What Happened Live.
Reality check. From pop culture, music to show-stopping moments.
Kelly Ripa. Ed Sheeran. Jennifer Lopez. Lil Nas X or Elton. Do you know how many homes you have?
Yeah, I do actually.
Only on Radio Andy, Sirius XM 102, or listen anytime on the Sirius XM app.
We know all freight is precious, but when the stakes are high, you need a partner who understands what premium care means. At Werner, we specialize in tailored and expedited solutions for industries that demand precision and reliability. From healthcare and pharmaceuticals to cutting-edge technology, we deliver with the expertise you can count on. Every shipment carries more than just goods. It carries your reputation. Choose Werner, your power advantage. Become a customer today. Go to choosewerner.com. Choosewerner.com.
Nutritional supplements are too expensive. At Live Good, we're doing it different by making the highest quality supplements and selling them for just a few dollars above cost. Just look at our Super Reds, arguably the best cardiovascular health product ever created. Other companies are selling Reds powders for as much as $59, and they're not even organic. At Live Good, you get the highest quality USDA certified organic Super Reds for just $24, less than half the price for a better product. And by the way, it tastes amazing. How about magnesium, something everybody needs and most of us are not getting enough of? Don't spend $40 for lower quality. At Live Good, you get the highest quality magnesium on the market for just $14.95. Ready to take your health to the next level? Go to livegood.com/SXM and join the 1.5 million people who have already made Live Good the fastest growing supplement brand in the world. We'll even give you 10% off your first order. livegood.com/SXM.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Struggling with toe fungus? Gross. Kick it to the curb with Tiniocide. That's right, Tiniocide is your ultimate solution for fast-acting relief. Fungus doesn't stand a chance against Tiniocide by Dr. Blaine. Don't believe me? Then trust our 100% money-back guarantee. You'll see results in as little as 2 days. Pull into a Walmart store now and reach for the box with the nail clippers on the outside. Grab your Tiniocide and take the first step toward healthier feet today. Remember, for quick and effective relief, it's Tiniocide. Available at Walmart right on the bottom shelf in the foot care aisle.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All power, zero compromise. Ego Cordless Outdoor Power Equipment features advanced lithium battery technology that exceeds the power and performance of gas without the noise, fuss, or fumes. From blowers and trimmers to mowers and pressure washers, one battery powers over 90 tools. No wonder it is the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Power beyond belief. Visit egopowerplus.com to learn more or to find an Ego retailer near you. That's egopowerplus.com.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions, a very handsome reward indeed. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% IRA boost on annual contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Chumba. Chumba.
Okay, I get it. Let's Chumba.
Dive into Chumba Casino, the ultimate online social casino with over 100 free games. Play slots, bingo, solitaire, and more. Anytime, anywhere. No downloads, no strings, just pure fun. Start playing today at ChumbaCasino.com. Available only to players in the U.S., excluding Washington, Michigan, Montana, Connecticut, and Nevada, and Canada, excluding Quebec. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to Fox News Channel on Sirius XM Channel 114.
Doge was in the building. We took down our pride flags. I took out any books I felt would be incriminating. No one was talking. We heard they started taking transcripts automatically of all of our Google Meets. They unplugged the news in the little kitchen galleys. It didn't feel good.
All right. Well, you've heard the sob stories, and they are quite entertaining at times. But the media, they continue to spread this story that Doge is some dark, mysterious organization, embedding itself in departments, like some jackbooted thugs, just intimidating staff, threatening those that don't comply. Okay. We're asking, what is the truth? Well, tonight we sit down exclusively with one of the men responsible for turning Elon Musk's Doge plans into reality. Joining me now is Sam Korkos, who's a special advisor within the U.S. Treasury Department. He's also CEO and co-founder of Levels, which is a really cool health and wellness software company. Also joining me, he's getting second billing tonight, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. We'll get back to you, Mr. Secretary, in a moment. But Sam, let's start with you. No one knows much about all of you guys who are working together, and I know you work at Treasury now. Tell us what brought you here into Washington and what your top priority is.
Yeah, I've been brought in to look at the IRS's modernization program in particular, as well as the operations and maintenance budget. I really care a lot about this country, and this is a huge program that's currently 30 years behind schedule, and it's already $15 billion over budget.
Wait a second. Explain to our viewers what the program is in layman's terms.
Yeah, so the goal is to take, the IRS has some pretty legacy infrastructure. It's actually very similar to what banks have been using. It's old mainframes running COBOL and assembly. And the challenge has been, how do we migrate that to a modern system? Virtually every bank has already done this, but we're still using a lot of those same systems. And typically in industry, this takes a few years, maybe a few $100 million. And we're now 35 years into this program. We've actually been, if you ask them now, it's 5 years away. And it's been 5 years away since 1990. It's supposed to be delivered in 1996, and it's still 5 years away.
In your area of expertise that informs your ability to do this review is what?
I'm a software developer by background, and I'm a CEO of a software technology company.
So when you came into the department, the first thing you do is just get into the guts of the system and see how it operates?
Yeah, really talk to the software developers. Talk to the people on the ground and what they're seeing. I think one encouraging thing is we actually have quite a lot of software talent on the ground, the people writing code. We actually have quite a lot of good people. It is almost always the case that when I ask them what the correct answer is, how do we solve these problems, they're almost always right, which is good. They just haven't been in a position to be empowered to make those decisions. So I'm actually pretty optimistic that we can solve this.
Secretary Bessent, why has this taken so long? I mean, Sam seems obviously very, very successful, extremely intelligent. But I assume we have other Sams in the United States. We could have had a Sam 15 years ago come in and fix this. What is going on?
Well, Laura, you've been in D.C. a long time. I've been here 8 weeks. But one of the biggest surprises for me is just seeing how these entrenched interests, they just keep constricting themselves around the power, around the money, around the systems, and nobody cares. I mean, I said to Sam today, I said, the IRS system was supposed to be delivered in 1996, and he said, no, but it was started in 1990. So that's how far behind they are, and nobody cares. And the other thing we're seeing too is, as Sam said, some of the employees, many of the employees are fantastic. It's this consultant group who has they're like a boa constrictor, they're like a python. They've got themselves
no pun intended.
Yeah.
Python language. Yeah. All you coders have
it was intended. So
yeah. Okay. Smarty pants. Thanks.
But they've constricted themselves around our government, and the costs are unbelievable that are being passed on to the American taxpayer.
Okay. So Sam, again, you come in from this tech company. You've been in directing engineering teams. You've been doing your own coding and software engineering for so many years. But you come in here and you see this is one of the most important departments in the world, not just in our government, in the world. And you see how this has been organized and run for so many years. What, as a human being, what is your reaction to that?
It's
were you stunned as I am just hearing about this?
Yeah, it's hard to really grasp the scale of this because we process at the IRS about the same amount of data as a mid-sized bank. And a typical mid-sized bank will have somewhere between 1 and 200 people in IT, and they'll have an operations and maintenance budget in like the $20 million a year range. We have 8,000 people in IT, and our operations and maintenance budget is $3.5 billion a year. I don't really know why yet, but I will tell you that 80% of that budget goes to contractors and licenses.
So the contractors and putting these projects out to bid, Mr. Secretary, how big a problem has that been?
Well, clearly it's a problem, and that's why when you and I were talking the other night, that's why I wanted to bring Sam in, because I just gotten a briefing from him, and my jaw hit the ground when he was talking about the cost, the timeline.